Hello and welcome to my channel, I Went to Lose Gaming. In today's video, I'll be going over many things to consider for Hu Tao's rerun, which is coming up in about a week. But really quick, it's time to pay some bills, and today's sponsor is Ragnarok Origin. The popular hit MMORPG Ragnarok Online has made its way over to mobile as Ragnarok Origin. The grand launch is coming soon, and pre-registration is open today. Just smash that link in the description below and then smash that pre-registration button so you'll know immediately when this game is released. Oh, and you can win a freaking Tesla Model S by just registering your email address here. That's a $90,000 self-driving car, by the way. Anyway, Ragnarok Origin is an adorable, pouring massacre-filled, open-world MMORPG sure to scratch that mobile MMO itch that you probably have. It is free to play, and the content is limitless, with mercenaries to collect and level, tons of stuff to grind, and a massive open world filled to the brim with adorable characters. Customize your build to refine your playstyle and choose from over hundreds of different weapons. Tired of the lack of costumes in Genshin Impact? Well, get your fix with countless different outfits and styles in Ragnarok Origin. What could be cuter than smashing pourings in a pig pajama outfit? The grand launch for Ragnarok Origin is coming soon, and the pre-registration link will be in the description below. And also, don't forget to enter the raffle to win that Tesla Model S. Huge thanks to Ragnarok Origin for sponsoring this video. The single most important thing to consider about Hu Tao is that she is dastardly cute. Her Japanese dub is voiced by the legendary Takahashi Rei, who perfectly encapsulates Hu Tao's whimsical personality. You get to make endless amounts of Hu Tao noises, which are worth it alone. So deadly cuteness aside, let's start talking about her gameplay. And we'll start by rapid firing through some of the more basic things that are important to point out but really don't need much elaboration. This is the pool of super obvious things to consider. Hu Tao has one of the highest single target DPS outputs in the game. Hu Tao is one of the best nukers in the entire game. She is easily able to output hundreds of thousands of damage for free-to-plays, and her nuke has a great, huge, circular hitbox around her. Hu Tao has downtime issues. 9-second pyro infusion on her E and 16 seconds of cooldown leads to roughly 6 to 7 seconds of downtime. Hu Tao's AoE damage isn't great outside of her burst. Now that we've gotten those super obvious things to consider out of the way, let's dive into some details that warrant more of an explanation. Hu Tao is a hyper carry. Since Hu Tao's own damage output is very high, especially with Vape, you only need to heavily invest into Hu Tao. This is a huge advantage in terms of resource management, as it allows you to clear content with far less resources. No need to think about gearing up 4 characters to the teeth, when you can just super gear up 1 character. This means that you can literally run a level 1 Xingqiu, like I did for a while, with a bunch of energy recharge, and that's all that Hu Tao really needs. Shield characters like Zhongli, and perhaps the upcoming Thoma, can get away with just some character levels and talent levels, which are infinitely cheaper in the long run compared to farming perfect artifacts. Now, one major con for Hu Tao are her HP management issues. This leads to cascading issues. First of all, from full health after 1E, Hu Tao is at 70% HP, and thus not under 50% HP for that 33% pyro damage. And if you have the Staff of Homa, she's also losing out on a ton of attack. After 2 E's, Hu Tao is at 49% HP, but that is at earliest 16 seconds after her first E. And by the time you use 4 E's, now Hu Tao is at a very risky 24% HP, making her very susceptible to being one-shotted by enemies. This is a careful dance between life and death, and leads to shielding being very valuable for Hu Tao. Both Zhongli and Thoma are great candidates for this role, but this does lead to less damage amplification from her teammates. These HP management issues lead to restrictive team building. You really want Xingqiu and you really want a shielder. This further leads to less compatibility with Anemo characters, as Hu Tao cannot apply pyro without going into some very long cooldowns. Now this does lead to Thoma providing some valuable role consolidation, because he's able to apply pyro and shield Hu Tao. And by him applying pyro, you can now more easily slot in an Anemo character. Finally, because Hu Tao wants to be under 50%, again she does not work with Bennett. Not only does Bennett increase Hu Tao's already massive attack stat, and thus Hu Tao doesn't gain as much damage, but he will heal Hu Tao over 50% HP in just a few seconds. And lastly, the final issue with Hu Tao's HP management is actually in the first chamber of an Abyss floor. You start off, for example, 12-1-1 at full HP, and thus Hu Tao is not able to get under 50% HP without either somehow taking a substantial amount of damage or waiting until her second E. This leads to a much slower ramp-up time for the first chamber of an Abyss floor. Fortunately, the first chamber is usually the easiest in an Abyss floor. And the last point about this issue is that I often find myself still wanting some healing, just so that after a few E's, she doesn't die instantly the moment she loses her shield. So yeah, that's actually a lot of stuff to be said about dancing around Hu Tao's HP issues, ranging from team building restrictions to gameplay limitations. The previous problem of Hu Tao needing to be under 50% HP, which makes her not work well with Bennett, can be viewed as a huge advantage as well. Hu Tao is one of the few DPS characters that is not significantly worse without our broken Benny boy. As such, this frees Bennett up for the other team. However, Hu Tao does often take Xingqiu and Zhongli, which are two amazing characters as well, but not being reliant on Bennett, like most of the other DPS characters in the game, provides your other team with the ability to run Bennett for the other half of Abyss. Next, let's quickly talk about her constellations and whether or not Hu Tao is free to play friendly. Starting with Constellation 1. I will have a full guide on this hopefully if time permits, on her Constellation 1 versus Staff of Homa. But from full stamina, you can pragmatically do 9 N1 C jump cancels at C0. This is basically 9 charge attacks with jump cancels. At Constellation 1, I personally usually get around 10 charge attacks during her E infusion. In my opinion, Hu Tao's Constellation 1 is far from necessary, but a lot of people swear by her Constellation 1, so really who am I to be against the grain there? And besides her Constellation 1, the only other constellation that matters a lot is Constellation 6, and that ends up turning her into a completely different character, where she's used for basically 9 seconds every 60 seconds as a single-use nuker. Essentially, all of Hu Tao's constellations are very mediocre, except for her Constellation 6 and arguably her Constellation 1. In a way, this kind of makes Hu Tao free to play friendly, as only Mega Whales are going to get a Constellation 6. Besides her constellations, another reason why Hu Tao can kind of be considered free to play friendly is because of the Dragon's Bane. Many of you will have a highly refined Dragon's Bane by now, and at Refinement 5, the Dragon's Bane performs similarly to a Refinement 1 Staff of Homa for Vape only. However, the Staff of Homa is much better for raw pyro damage and melt damage. Hu Tao is a somewhat moderately free to play friendly character, but again, that's assuming you have a highly refined Dragon's Bane. So call me Captain Obvious here, but Hu Tao is a melee character. Since Hu Tao is melee, she struggles in melee weak scenarios. Nowadays, there are many situations where I notice this problem. This includes, but is not limited to, Spectres, the Animo Wind Spirit thing, the perpetual Lego array when it turns into a rocket ship, non-melee friendly hitboxes like Boreas, the big Rift Wolves teleporting and dashing around, things getting knocked around by overloaded, Geovishaps when they roll around and jump around, the new Snake and Dorito robots that like to stay away from you, stuff trapped in Venti's tornado, monsters that don't approach you like Simiturals, Hilichurl archers, bomb-throwing treasure hoarders, certain Fatuis like the Pyro Gunner and Mirror Maiden. As you can see, that list is quite long, and I'm sure I've missed something. And all of those characters give Hu Tao a lot of trouble because she either has to wait for them or she has to run up to them. Nowadays, I have been noticing the annoyances of being a melee character more and more after using Yoimiya and Ganyu for so long. This disadvantage cannot be trivialized, as the time spent running to the next monster or waiting for specters to float into range is precious infusion time wasted. It also burns through your stamina. Nonetheless, Hu Tao is still able to murder everything with ease, just with less convenience than her ranged peers. Alright, so here's a quick summary of the pros and cons for Hu Tao. Starting with her pros, she's one of the best single target on-field DPS characters in the game. She's one of the best nukers in the game. She's a hyper carry, so you can just invest into her. She is an exceptionally cute character. She is voiced by the legendary Takahashi Rei. Toma is on her banner and should be a great teammate for her. Constellations 2 through 5 are very unnecessary and thus makes her somewhat free to play friendly. She does not need Bennett. She has a great Constellation 1 and she has a broken Constellation 6. Now for her cons. Hu Tao has downtime problems. She is a melee character, and I outlined a lot of the problems with melee characters in the above section. She is shackled to Xingqiu, when Hu Tao is played as the main DPS. She has HP management issues, which leads to the fact that Bennett has limited uses with her, and that she really needs a shielder, especially if you can't kill things fast enough and you kind of take a lot of damage. Because of the above team building restrictions, this leads to difficulty incorporating OP animal characters, but Toma might be able to help with that. And also because of her HP issues, she has low ramp up time in the first chamber of an Abyss floor. Now some people view Constellation 1 as necessary, although I personally disagree, and she has very limited AoE on her charge attack. So now for my opinion on Hu Tao. She's still one of the best DPS characters in the game, and well deserving of a top tier placement in any tier list. But because we now have many top tier DPS characters to choose from, Hu Tao is definitely not considered a must pull character. However, if you invest heavily into her, Hu Tao will be able to carry you really far in this game, and will be an invaluable addition to anyone's roster. If you need one of the highest single target DPS characters in the game, with amazing nuking potential, then Hu Tao is a great choice. Also, I regularly make Genshin Impact videos, ranging from Caesar showcases, DPS showdowns, guide videos, and more. So be sure to smash the subscribe button, as it's the best and easiest way for you to support my work. Also, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Want to Lose, signing out.